you know your children the best. You know what they can handle, but also challenge them and push them a little bit, because nothing is more rewarding than having your family together at these types of events or business meetings. No. Ooh, that's better, right, babe?
Yeah. She founded an architectural concrete company.
He founded a $100 million clothing company.
She took the world by storm as a social media star.
He took the world by storm as a famous serial entrepreneur.
Together we started a business.
And had babies.
Now we're figuring out the best ways to do both.
Join us as we learn from other entrepreneurs going through the same life struggles.
As they share their life hacks about success, love, kids,
and everything in between.
Everyone that you will ever meet knows something that you don't. Learn from them. Quote by Bill Nye.
Welcome to the Pretty and Punk Podcast. My name is Dan Caldwell, and I'm here with my beautiful wife, Ildiko Ferenczi. And I said your whole part for you. I was waiting for you to step in, but you didn't.
Ferenczi,
you were too busy posing over here. You had your arms up, you're posing like you. I don't know what was going on over there, but I didn't feel like you were going to jump in there and say anything, so I just said it for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Before we jump into the podcast, we have another great podcast, of course. Before we jump into the podcast, we just want to let you know that you can look at the show notes below if you want to know where. No, we actually looked it up this time. So our follow us on Instagram or message us on Instagram. We're probably the most attentive to the Instagram, which is at Pretty and Punk Podcast.
They find us anyway. They find us in the show notes, but I think every link is Pretty and Punk Podcast. At
Pretty and Punk Podcast. Yeah, be sure to check us out. And if you have any messages or comments, or you can always leave them in the podcast messages. Again, we read those to all of our kids, and they love hearing them. We read them at the dinner table, and it becomes part of what makes our dinner so enjoyable.
Yeah. So wherever you feel comfortable messaging us, message us there. And yes, I was posting. I mean, what wife doesn't want to hear that she's beautiful from her husband? Sometimes he forgets to tell me. But this time,
posing. You had your hands up. You look like this. I don't know, the Statue of Liberty.
I enjoy it. And welcome to my handsome husband, Dan Caldwell.
Why don't we start a podcast off like that?
But you're not dancing. You see, like it's not having the same.
Well, because I was in shock. Like I'd never heard that before.
You are. You're handsome. I always tell you you're hot.
Yeah, but I mean, during the podcast, I'm like, you could tell the world if you want to.
Okay.
So we have another great podcast today, and it's actually because we have so many things coming up right now.
And always have.
Networking events, I guess you could call them, different speaking events and networking events. And we always do. We always have something going on here and there.
Business meetings.
But we were talking about the ones we have going on that are coming up this month. And we were just kind of in this conversation about how we network with our kids.
Yeah, we do.
And we think and we wanted to just kind of pass that on, because I think there's so many people out there, and not to say that you might find an event that it might not be appropriate to bring your kids to, but we, again, want our kids to see us networking with other entrepreneurs. We want them to see how we interact with these entrepreneurs and how the conversations that we get into. And they actually, I mean, Daniel's looks up to a lot. He watches some of these entrepreneurs
since he was a baby.
We have him watch certain videos and certain things. It's kind of part of his schooling. He's homeschooled. So part of the schooling that we do with him, he watches some of this, and he watches different entrepreneurs and what they're talking about. And we're always talking about the language and stuff. We try to put him with this right entrepreneur so that he doesn't really get influenced by certain language, because we want him to hear the cleaner entrepreneurs. But for some reason, he always gravitates to the ones that... But he's
also at the age where he understands that these aren't words that just because someone uses something that is not appropriate, he understands that it's wrong in his eyes. He doesn't agree with it. He'll plug his ears and he'll put his own censor out there. I used to do it for him. I used to give him earmuffs and stuff, but now he's at the age where he does it for himself or his sister. And it's hard. I mean, especially for me in the architectural concrete company, that was a language that was just there. I didn't necessarily like it, but it was there. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they do use this language, and it's hard. So you kind of have to be choosy about who you expose yourself to.
But I think you said it right. Daniel has a way of looking past that.
Yeah,
and even though
right.
like some of his favorite entrepreneurs or some of the more controversial
or
entrepreneurs
aggressive
or whatever you want to call it.
Courageous.
Try to find it. Like that Gary V,
Oh my gosh,
probably
yes.
couldn't get through a couple sentences without using an F-bomb or so.
All right.
I'm so proud of the way he approaches
Well, we know what's acceptable in our family. We don't use that language, and he understands that. So that a little bit off topic, but this is how we deal with it in our home, and he knows that that's totally.
What are some of the other things that we kind of like do when we know we're taking them to a networking event?
Well, the one thing is sometimes it gets a little complicated. So during a break or on our way home, we change it to a language that they understand, and we encourage the questions, and we encourage what did you like the best about today? What excited you the most? And we really try to spark that excitement and learning. I mean, with anything, with
we
language,
want them to be
math,
excited about it.
spelling,
truthfully,
all of that.
They're kids, so it's like you have to kind of find the excitement
Right.
in the event for them,
Right,
because
right.
might be excited. We might be excited as adults to be able to interact like that, but kids are. They do play, and there are no playgrounds there or anything. So,
Right.
so we have to show them the excitement and
Right.
what's exciting about the event, and there's remember watching Gary Vee, go up there and tell. And that's another thing too. We like to prepare them for the people that they're going to meet.
If they have something that is on their heart that they want to share with someone that they look up to, I don't ever want them to feel shy or scared. I encourage them to go up there and talk to them and tell them what they appreciate about their lesson or about their message. That's important to me. The other thing is Daniel has a professional speaking business, and it's hard for people to wrap their head around that. But he is delivering a full speech for entrepreneurs, thousands of people, and he can speak. So I'm not going to be the one to pitch it. If he wants to reach out and be on someone's stage, I'm telling him now, listen, you got to make a video. You got to reach out to this person. In the likes of, a Gary Vee or an Ed Milet or Lewis Howes, just think big and go for it. And maybe they don't see the light in you, or they might not believe it. Send them the demo. And even if they look past you, don't let that break your heart. Don't let that make you cry. You keep going until they see the value in you. Do you know how many times people said no to me with my company? And in auditions, I mean, a lot of people don't know the auditioning world, but they would say no to you a lot, and mainly because of how you looked or how you spoke. And they would say no a lot. I would hear no a lot. And it made me so strong and so confident. So he needs to experience that and never take it to heart. And I encourage other children to experience that too. It gives them this I don't want to say hard, but it gives them this, what do you want to call it? Resilience. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I think it's great that we practice that with him before he goes into those situations. Mm-hmm. I mean,
he's been overlooked at times. It's like some people don't see the value in children. But listen, when I'm on stage and you're on stage or we're on stage together, I will look to the children. I won't just bypass them. Oh, it's just some kid. That is our future generation. Be careful. You treat them like gold, because they're going to be the future generation. Pour into them. I remember Bo's story too. Remember the one where his fan, he was a fan of who was it, the football player, and he just looked past him.
Oh, yeah.
And it
then
broke
when he finally
his
got
heart.
into the NFL, he faced him. Yeah, that's a great story. And I think that we don't want our kids to idolize people too much.
No.
So you gotta, when you're with your kids, there's a careful balance of having those conversations where you want them to be inspired by these people, and it's why we prepare them with questions that we want, that they want to ask, but we want to help them word them right, so that when they go up to ask these questions, that they get a good response.
And exposing them to these people, I feel like they're never starstruck. He knows who entrepreneurs are over celebrities, and we hang out with plenty of both, but I feel like because we listen to one thing I just want to share, because I don't want it to
you
pass.
Just get sidetracked?
No, it's a lesson that I
point.
learned because I was very nervous about, I couldn't have kids, but I was also nervous about, this is what I was told, I couldn't have kids. So I was talking to a producer friend of mine, and he said, if you do end up having the blessing of having children, don't let them teach you. What did he say? You teach them your ways. So don't just listen to the baby music and the nursery rhymes. Listen to podcasts. Let them learn your life so that it doesn't cause a big shock for them. So we had that ever since they were babies. They were coming to the events. They were listening to podcasts. They were doing the things that we had in our life because we wanted to. He's like, you train them. You train them to do everything you do. My kids come to set and they're very quiet while we're filming. This is a huge producer in Hollywood.
Yeah, no, I think that,
and that was
telling me that one time.
Yeah, I told you exactly what he said.
That line of thinking, because I don't think I was thinking that way, and I'd always felt like, oh, we gotta, like, I don't mind bringing the kids, but we need to, or leave them at home, but if we bring them, we have to, should we leave them with a playground? Should we bring a nanny?
Should we bring a nanny so they could live in their own bubble?
Because that's kind of what my mindset at the time. I wanted to teach them. I was always believed in that.
Right.
And I wanted them to learn.
But you thought at an older age. And for me, it just really resonated because that's how I grew up. I grew up in business. So I got what he said.
Exposing them to adult concepts.
Right.
And
understand.
So that they have a certain way of portraying themselves when they're in front of these people. They're not acting like little kids running around. They're acting like grown-ups, very poised and very, when they ask these questions, they ask them very clearly and deliberately.
Interested.
Yes. And so I think that that's really important. That's an important part. And what I like too is, recently Daniel was listening to that ClickFunnels event where they were actually, I think people are warming up to this idea that kids are coming into their own and they want to be entrepreneurs, and it's another superpower. Like they want to, some kids want to be cowboys, some kids want to, fly to the moon, other kids want to be entrepreneurs.
Right.
And they want to build their own businesses. And so I think other people that are throwing events are warming up to this idea, and they're making these events more kid friendly.
Right. I love that.
Don't you see some of those?
Yeah. We're going to host one.
Yep. Someday. It's coming. It's on the bucket list. Yeah. I mean, we talk about it a lot.
You make me laugh. It's happening soon, but just kid friendly.
Like, we're going to host one. And I'm like,
well, we are. We've been talking about it, and we have our entrepreneur, like our wish list, and we're friends with these people and even celebrities. There's a lot of celebrities that are involved in businesses. And I feel like that term entrepreneurship, it's such a wide definition, and there's so much creativity and so much that goes into it. I feel that it's such an exciting thing for a child if they could just understand it, or not understand it, but just be
a part of it.
Just understand the different rainbows of what you can do with entrepreneurship. There's real estate. There's business. There's brick and mortar. There's so many different things.
Or YouTubing or what. It's gotten so
It's
it's
all
a part of
business.
everything now.
Right.
I mean, when I think that now it's kind of all encompassing. You could be a mother at home and start your own business, and
That's
now you're an
right.
entrepreneur.
That's right.
So I think these kids, they get so much from this, especially coming to these events. And
I
they
don't
can sit
ever
down
want them to think it's a boring thing. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
That's
That
true.
under that umbrella of entrepreneurship, under business, under that umbrella, there is so much to choose from. There is so much opportunity. And again, our parents that have come to this country from a different country, well, I mean,
you have to go pretty
sure,
far back to find my parents.
right? But I'm just saying that the parents that are immigrants, they came to this country to give us opportunity. So I think that's what we all want as parents, is to give our children opportunity and just let them see the smorgasbord of what's out there under the umbrella of business and entrepreneurship.
One of the things we also want to mention is that, we've learned a few things while being out there with our kids at these different events. And one of the things was that kids like to come up and ask a lot of questions. And we're often in these conversations with entrepreneurs or different, friends of ours or people that we're talking to at the event. Imagine being in the middle of a conversation and your little one's pulling on your thing, Dad, I want to, because they want to ask a question. They're excited,
Right,
they're excited. Or Destiny, go when they're mom.
And then you lose
happened.
your train of thought when you're networking, right when you're giving this person value or even receiving value, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. We've all had
I've seen it happen to you. Just plain as day, like totally lose your train of thought because
that's okay. I blame it on mommy brain, right? Moms have mommy brain. Oh, sorry, mommy brain. But you don't have to do that.
You lose that and you get off track, and
it's
it feels
frustrating.
like, and because I think we hold, there's principles that we hold dear about when we have conversations with people, making them feel like they're important and that we're paying
that
attention
we're listening to them, that they're always number one in priority. And let's get it straight. Like, our kids are never like, mom, dad. But there could be an opportunity where Daniel has to use potty or something. It has happened.
It's happened.
It's happened.
And usually because Daniel wants to make a conversation. He wants to ask a question.
He wants to be included.
Or he wants to ask a question about, what are we talking about? Like, what did you guys just mean by this? Mm-hmm. He asks that a lot.
Right.
What did you mean by when you were saying you were going to invest in this?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean exactly?
Right.
Like, what were you going to invest in? And what did they want you to do? He'll ask these great questions, but we don't want you asking yet in the middle of our conversation.
We have to finish our thoughts. So
we have this little hack that
anybody can use,
that everybody should implement. I believe that when we're talking to them, our kids will come up, and now they'll come up and they'll put their hand on our shoulder or on our leg. And we look. Sometimes I don't notice it right away.
I know, because it's because
it's kind of subtle. Like maybe they're just there to love on us.
They're loving me, right?
But they put their hand on our leg or something, and then we notice that means that they want to ask a question.
They want to say something,
and then
or they want to ask.
We'll put our hand on top of their hand.
And that
lets them know that
they're important, and
know that they want to ask a question, and that we are. We'll leave our hand there until we can actually acknowledge them. And so we'll finish our conversation or get to a point where we can actually have a break in the conversation, because sometimes it might be a bathroom break.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Dad, I got to use the restroom.
Right. But we just let either our party finish their thought or we finish our thought, and then we look at them. And what do we say?
Acknowledge them. Well, just, how can I help you, Dan?
I just felt like I cut you off, so I didn't want to take that.
You did cut me off, but that's okay. I'll remember that.
I should have put my hand on your shoulder. Sorry.
Practice what you preach.
I know, right? I know.
No, so we just like that little hack, and because especially when you go to these types of events, there's so much going on, and there's so many people you're talking to, and you don't want to forget about your kids, but you want to include them. But you want them to know that
important stuff is
they're
going
important
down,
and that we want to make them important and make them a part of our conversations. Right. And we try to include them whenever we can in our conversations. So I think that's important too.
Yeah, that's our hack. That's our gift from us to you.
And what are some of the things we like to prepare our kids? I mean, we like to. We let them know what the questions. That's right. One thing.
Right. If they want to speak to anyone, we encourage them to do that. Or even when they're at home and Daniel's pitching himself with his speaking, I encourage him to prepare his own videos and be creative about it. What do you want to say to this person? Why do you want to be on this person's stage? And he's really in charge of networking himself. And it's a little bit hard sometimes to watch because sometimes people, as I said, they don't really understand that he's got the man in the arena speech nailed down. Every entrepreneur mentions it in their book, but most entrepreneurs don't know this
any
speech.
Entrepreneurs.
I'll challenge you with my little, because he knew it when he was a toddler.
Actually, Keith Yackey took the challenge and he actually memorized it and then sent Daniel the video.
He did such a good job. But that's what I'm saying is like, don't underestimate a child. They have it in them. They're such a blessing, and they're going to be our next future generation of entrepreneurs and just changing the world. The whole point is changing the world and sparking something in someone out there. The whole point is helping people.
Well, I think some of the things that you can do too, I just wanted to add a few of the other things that we do, some other stuff that we use to prepare.
Yeah.
Is also just like a little bit of role play sometimes, like if they're still trying to understand what's going to happen there, because different events are different. Some are just speaking events where we might not be doing as much networking. It might be actually the networking will probably be with people just sitting next to us, but the understanding that they need to be quiet during the speaking event, that there's other people there that want to hear, and that that we're going to be listening to speeches. And Daniel listens, and Daniel and Destiny both listen to speeches. From videos and stuff that we'll have them watch sometimes, but we want them to know what they're about to walk into.
Right. Well, especially at our business meetings, if we're going to a fancy restaurant and they know they have to mind their manners. Most of the time they're very quiet and they're listening and they're watching. And just know your child's threshold. How long are they going to be okay in that situation? Our kids are good because they were brought up like that. But when you're introducing it, you want to just spoon feed them.
Well, I wouldn't say they're perfect. I would say that
I never said they were perfect.
Well,
no.
No, there's times
I know that Daniel will go longer than Destiny.
Oh, for sure.
I know the difference between them. So sometimes maybe I'll have to go for a walk with Destiny, or you'll have to go for a walk with Destiny. Yeah. I understand this about my family. She's getting much better, but I know maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, I had to take breaks. Also, nursing. She wants to nurse, and she's still nursing. I don't know how long.
Well, that event that we did in LA, you're right. That's a good example. That they were a little bit at their threshold there, and you had to go in to do that panel. I couldn't even go in to watch because they were a little bit. They just wanted to go do something.
Right, they were running around. They wanted to be on the red carpet. Taking the photos.
We've been doing a lot had been going on, and you had to go do that panel, and I wanted to go there and watch you, but I couldn't because I just really wanted. There was a what was it? Kind of like a little
social media.
They had different people had booths and stuff set up.
Oh right,
and they were kind of excited about the booths and all these different things that they had going on. People were giving away little trinkets and stuff at each booth.
Yeah, that's right.
So they thought that was a lot more exciting, and the idea of going in there.
Well, because people were spoiling them. They were giving them all kinds of stuff.
They had these little toys and little keychains.
Right. So just keep that in mind that just spoon feed them and you know your children the best. You know what they can handle, but also challenge them and push them a little bit, because nothing is more rewarding than having your family together at these types of events or business meetings. And with the business meetings, as I was going to say, sometimes you don't know how your people are going to act. Like the producer, we meet with a lot of producers, different business people, but usually don't be shy. They have kids of their own. Most of them have kids of their own, and they are so welcoming to this idea of having your kids there.
And I personally think that you should tell them why you're bringing your kids. I've never had better reactions from people than when I actually tell them, we bring our kids to these events because we want them to see us interact with people like you. Mm-hmm. We want them to learn from that. And nobody's going to teach them this at a school.
No,
or nobody's showing them how to do this or leading them by example, except for us.
That's right.
That burden is left on us as parents. And
that's our responsibility.
And we have to do that. And so I encourage you to kind of, to just break that ice so that people don't feel like awkward. Like sometimes you show up to this meeting that's an important meeting with your kids and your whole family. If you break that ice with them and tell them exactly why you brought the kids today, that you'll find somebody who's usually 1,000 times more receptive to the whole idea and actually excited about it. And
then they start doing, how many times?
I should bring my kids.
Yes. How many times have we broken that mold? I remember people are so scared to include their kids. And it's like, just do it. Just do it. I love it. And when I see another entrepreneur, like even for example, Bradley, and I know because we've interviewed him, so he includes his family all the time, but I just wanted to encourage him and just say, wow, I love it. He's on the jet with his babies and his wife. And I just had to tell him, I love this. I love seeing that. And he already knows, and that's a thing that he does. But I just want to encourage always parents that are doing it. I'll go up to them in public and just, I love that you have your child here at this meeting or at this event. I love it. I love seeing it.
Yeah. That's I think watching more and more entrepreneurs and parents do it is exciting for us because we don't know if we influenced them or
well,
if
I know we have influenced a lot.
I know,
of people,
but I mean, sometimes it's just great to see it more.
Yes,
because I really think we're building tomorrow's entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And I think you mentioned this a little bit at the beginning, but I think when you leave, I think it's very important to have those teachable moments that you can speak about with your kids. Like what did you learn today? And what was the most exciting part of the conference today? And whose speech was your favorite? Yeah. And what was your best conversation? Mm-hmm. And what was it about? Sometimes they get into conversations, where were we? Oh, when Daniel was speaking at one of his events, he was in conversations with Garrett White, and I didn't really hear the whole conversation. So I was asking him, what was the conversation about?
Yeah.
And just having those conversations with them afterwards to kind of sum up the experience.
Yeah.
And hear from them. It's exciting to hear. It's exciting for me to hear from them.
Yeah, I love
what they were most excited about.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Do you have any great pieces of knowledge that you want to leave everybody with before we jump off?
Well, I just think the only thing that I want to wrap it up with is that if it doesn't go as planned, nothing ever goes as planned. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just keep trying. And also, if your kids want to meet someone or they have their heart set on meeting someone and that person just glazes over them, never just encourage your kids to not take it to heart. They're going to have the no answer so many times in their life, and people may not see the light that they actually are. Don't take it to heart. Don't let them take it to heart. Okay? This is
business.
But
one of my favorite quotes is, the best revenge is massive success, and you just push that on them a little bit. And it doesn't. That's from Frank Sinatra. But I just that doesn't mean the same thing. It's
I
not
guess
like
for
you're trying
me,
to get revenge.
it's just like,
but I like
just
that.
do so good that they can't look away. That's kind of the
That's
thing
probably
that
a
I
better
tell
way of saying
Daniel
that.
is just do so good. Just prove it to him. Show him in a way that, or her, that they just can't look away. And they're like, dang, I think I met that little boy. And dang it, I glazed over him like he was nothing. Or that little girl, you know?
Remember me?
Just like Bo. I love Bo's story where he's wants this shirt. Was it a jersey or a piece of paper? He wanted it signed by his ultimate favorite player. And then years later, there he is. Eye contact, eye to eye with this same player that just glazed over him because he's just this little kid. It's just a little kid. And now he's going to war on the field with
and
this
now he's
guy.
the younger, faster player.
Yeah.
on the field.
Remember me, bro? I love it. So anyways,
if you guys have any events that you've tried this at, and things didn't work out, or they did work out, or what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, or you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments because we'd love to hear that. We'd love to hear some feedback about it because I know it's kind of a newer concept, and even though if you've listened to us in the past, you know that we're all about it. We're still trying to refine our messages.
I feel like immigrants, they had these businesses when it wasn't cool. So we're kind of used to growing up in the business. But I guess you can say it's a new concept. But there are a lot of people that did grow up in that business.
It's a new old concept, for sure.
It's a new old... Okay, yeah, that's good.
I just mean the conferences and these events.
Right.
The networking part of it anyways.
Yeah.
Being a part of the business, we've always preached that's something that could be a family affair. But networking as a family affair is kind of a fairly new concept. And I think it's something that's going to catch on.
I think so too.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for today's podcast. And like I said, if you have any input, we'd love to hear it in the comments. And we will catch you guys next time.
Yes, God bless. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Pudding Punk Podcast. Please subscribe. Thank you for listening. I hope that changed your life. God bless. See you next time.